Stop that. Stop that. Stop that. Yeah. I hear him chat to the noise. Move too quick, can't stop for the talking. I hear him chat with the walking. Just too sharp with the prize. White girls better tell me I'm awesome, yeah. Hot like fire on the pan. If you wanna touch my please use caution. Cold like 0 degrees. I'm out the cage, gotta let out the beast. Revolutionary, gotta let out the streets. Locked in a cage, I'ma let out the sheets. You can't go out, man, forget my peace. You take the west side, take on the east. I'ma put him in the cage, never let out the. I hear him chat to the noise. Move too quick, can't stop for the talking. I hear him chat with the boys. Not so tough, but man's keep walking, yeah. Just too sharp with the prize. White girls better tell me I'm awesome, yeah. Hot like fire on the pan. If you wanna touch my please use caution. Stop that. Stop that. Stop that.
All right, we back for game 3. There we go. Little change to the starting lineup. Our man Hawk is gone for the day. He might be back later in the week. He wasn't benched.
He was benched.
It's a DMP. Well, the voice that you hear is the replacement for Hawk.
They called in the left-hander.
They called in the lefty.
Not even lefty. That's the crazy part.
It is Mr. El Hassan, the dream himself. You've been walking around with a lot of confidence around here.
You know that nickname?
No, I mean, it's always a nickname. It rhymes. That's the right nickname to go.
That was my nickname when I worked for the Suns, man.
Right, yeah. I mean, the dream, right? Yeah, I mean, that's it.
Or Dreamer. They used
There
to
we
call
go.
it Dreamer
So
sometimes.
we got Dreamer in here. No Mike Ryan today. Billy's back. Chris Cody, who's been The Rock. Big Red The Rock is here. And
Fisher.
the return of Smetty Wop. We also got my man Charlie, who at some point, so a couple of things we're going to get in today. Charlie and I went on a gallivant last night with some friends. One of our friends was kidnapped. I heard a story about a lunatic strength coach. That happened last night. What else happened last night, Charlie? That was crazy. We don't have to get into the story specifically, but we can tease them for later.
I feel like you think less of me now.
Damn.
No. I just got to know you more. Like,
Multitudes.
everybody has these stories.
Did Charlie have a Sam Rockwell and White Lotus type of night?
No.
Okay.
No.
Just want to know.
I heard that yesterday's show was a lot of sports talk, and I heard that the series is even right now. But yesterday's show was a run the ball day, sort of like ground and pound, like let's tie it up the ugly way.
Yeah,
and today is gonna be like we're feeling good. We're gonna kind of play our style ball now. Is that what I
Flea
heard?
flicker.
I mean, we got to see what the defense gives us.
We're not desperate enough for a flea flicker yet. Save that for maybe Thursday or Friday.
You start the game off. Let them know.
We got John Fantas coming on later in the show to talk to us about the tournament. So that's a run the ball situation. We got David Samson, which is always fun. I love David Samson. He makes me seem so smart. He's the best. But I think at some point we're going to get to Steph Curry hitting a ridiculous amount of threes, but I think we got to start with what Jokic did last night in double overtime, a 61-point triple-double. He's insane. All the shots in the paint look like they're mistakes, but they always somehow go in. He's incredible. The passing, and I was watching the highlights of that game this morning because it was on way too late for me, but Charlie was still up. He couldn't sleep because he's a Jokic head.
Yeah, I mean, got home and it was double overtime against the Timberwolves. Jokic was unconscious, but I don't know. I mean, I wonder what you think about this too. Is the lead for you Jokic or Russell Westbrook, who we've talked about all year? He's tempered his Russ. He's deferred to Jokic in seemingly every big moment to the point where he's almost overpassing. And then with 17 seconds left, the Wolves turn it over. Russell Westbrook smokes the layup rather than dribbling the ball out to get fouled, up by 1. But he doesn't give up. Russ always has motor. And he fouls Nickeil Alexander-Walker with 0.1 seconds left after complaining for a call.
I don't know if you guys saw the reverse angle. After he smokes the layup, he just stands there and sits in it for a little bit. As action is going, they're playing, and he's just like, yeah, I might have just blown that game. And then he gets the idea, like, I got to make up for this. And he runs. And the craziest part is watching the TNT broadcast. When the foul happens, they're like, oh, my God, there's a foul at the buzzer. And they just centered in on Peyton Watson going like this. And I was like, oh, Peyton, man, like, come on, buddy. You got to earn your spot. You can't make mistakes like that in the clutch. And then I showed the replay. I was like, that wasn't him. Why you guys focused on him? Because he looked shocked? I'm sure everybody looks shocked on the team. Why are you going to focus on him?
It was a cagey vet, the guy who's been there, been in all the moments, the guy who is accustomed to being blamed for teams coming short of their championship expectations. Well, obviously last night wasn't a championship moment. It felt like a playoff-level game. It was one of the better games of the season so far with the Nuggets taking on the Wolves. And
I don't know if you know this, the playoffs have already started. Yeah, in the NBA, the playoffs have already started. All of these games have stakes. Every single game has stakes. And so there's no, well, we'll just get them next week or whatever. Like, everyone needs to win. Denver's chasing Houston for the 2 seed and the right to not play whoever's 6, which is probably going to be the Warriors. And so this was an incredibly important game for them. At the same time, for the Timberwolves, they're trying to move up, and they're now tied with Memphis for 6-7. They lose a tiebreaker, but everybody was playing for something, and that's what made that game so incredible and so compelling. Both those games, really.
Those games are particularly interesting, and those guys are playing for something. There are some teams in the league that are playing to lose also. But I'm not going to get negative into tanking. At some point, I think I got to solve for tanking. We're going to get to that later. But I do appreciate the fact that we're at a point in the season where all the games matter, and we're locked in. They're playing hard. You go double overtime. Steph is doing Steph things. And in that particular game, the thing that stood out to me was I was shocked at how many big shots Aaron Gordon hit, big threes. And I was like, let me look up, because that was always the thing on Aaron Gordon was like, he couldn't be a number one, in part because of his ability. Well, I mean, you looked at me like I was stupid. They pushed him as a number one in Orlando. Don't act like they didn't try.
He can't be a number 2 on a playoff team.
Don't act like they didn't try
Hold
to
on.
trick us into being Aaron Gordon being number one.
They wasn't tricking us. They were doing the thing that you do when you invite people over and all you have is like this futon from IKEA.
Okay, gotcha,
and we're like, yeah, I just got these this new cushion right here, these new seat cushions just to spruce it up a little bit. And you're like, oh, wow, yeah, that's really nice, man. It really brings color out. But like we all know, like, damn, bro, you broke. You broke. That was what's happening.
I was setting this up to be a compliment to Aaron Gordon. That's not what I meant. I set it up improperly.
What kind of furniture is Jokic?
Oh man, that's a sectional with the USB plugs in them.
Ooh,
right?
And cup holders?
And the cup holders. And that little, like, that pocket thing where I can put my remote control in.
It's honestly doing too much, that couch.
What?
Huh?
It's just
Not
like,
doing
I
enough.
don't need it all. I don't need an outlet.
What? Oh, man. You know how many times I have to reach over? I got to charge my phone. Hold on. Like,
You guys aren't on the
do
portable
that?
charger game?
I'm
in
into
the
plug
portable
my
charger.
couch in.
I don't do the thing from the couch anymore. Like that, those things like are bad. Like
It's a hazard.
a month in, they're not even working anymore.
Oh, for real? I don't have one.
I have my couch.
Oh, so this is what
I
this
had like a
is.
charger thing plugged in, and then like I was into it, and then 2 months later, it just stopped working.
So this is what this is. This is really just you railing against the furniture salesman who bent you over a barrel and showed you the 50
But I
states.
do like the portable charger. My wife has like 50 of these things. So now like I rarely even use the wall chargers anymore. I'm walking around with my portable charger, and then when I leave the house, I plug the portable charger.
You know what I don't like about the portable charger? I got to charge it.
Yeah.
I'm guessing Chris's wife does that.
Yeah.
What, you want a solar portable charger?
Yeah, I mean, just something like maybe like dynamic or something like
So
kinetic energy.
You could run. You could run
Yeah.
down the street, shake it up. Speaking of running, Taylor, he might get embarrassed today because I walked in this morning and that fool Taylor was eyeing me. I don't know if you know about this, but yesterday,
I heard.
Yesterday Taylor was out here popping a little, talking a little cash to me like he could beat me in a race. And I was like, I'm not trying to race because I don't want to get injured like my guy at the Hawks game. Yeah, I don't want to get injured like my guy at the Hawks game. But anyway, I walk in here and Taylor looking at me like I'm a kid. Like, yeah.
You hit
Like,
you
look,
flinch.
relax, Kelvin Sampson. You can't run with me. Chill out, young Tay-Tay. And then, so he's sizing me up. So I'm sizing him up. And I have even more confidence after I sized him up. Because I didn't check out, like, we saw his shoulders and arms. But today, he was looking at me like he wanted to race me. So I had to check out the engine. Taylor ain't got no donk. He can't run. He ain't got no engine. He don't got no cakes. You can't fly if you ain't got no cakes. I'm sorry this is uncomfortable. I don't mean to objectify you, Taylor. But I know this from when I was being scouted. The coaches and the scouts,
Check your ass first.
yeah,
That's where they start.
I remember my dad.
Turn around, boy.
My dad wasn't a very good athlete, but he obviously was very involved in me getting recruited. And I went to like my first combine when I was in a sophomore in high school, and the coaches were standing next to my dad. Like, man, yeah, I mean he's gonna be a good player. He's explosive, and He got real nice hips. And I remember my dad was like, you know what school you not going to?
Mm-hmm.
That one. He talking about how you got nice hips. I was like, no, Dad. It means like I turned well or whatever. He was very confused.
No, your dad was right. Anyone compliments my child's hips, yeah, we're ending that conversation right then and there.
I mean, that's a football thing. You'll hear, if you listen to draft stuff, you hear hip. I'm sure you hear even worse.
Here's the thing.
What's the worst thing?
Here's the thing.
Okay.
98% of the time, you're probably right. It was just a football remark.
Yeah.
But then there's that 2%, right? Do you really want to risk that 2%? And then everyone will be like, well, the man did tell you he was complimenting the hips. And you were like, yeah, thanks. Instead of doing something about it. No, you can't take that. You cannot. It reminds me, I watched that docuseries about all the things that were happening at Nickelodeon behind the scenes to those poor children or whatever.
Yeah.
And one of the kids, like, his dad was really kind of involved, and it was like, no, like always picking him up, always on top of things. Then he ended up having a divorce, and the mom was getting custody, and the mom was like fully into the Hollywood mom life and just dropping the kid off and leaving him be. And so years later, the scandal comes out, like, man, these kids got, messed with or whatever. And the dad is watching the news with his son, and he's like, man, see, I'm glad I kept you away from all of them. Turned out his son was one of them. Yeah. So, like, you don't want to be that dad, thinking like, oh, yeah, I did everything right. And then they say, hey.
My dad stood in the way, and I did not go to school, not because of that. But I think that it's part of it is that you're probably right. But I've been around football so much that some of the lingo in football is comfortable to me. I wonder what the basketball, because y'all ain't better than us.
Wait, did you go, was that Penn State, or is it that workout was?
No, it was not.
That's a Sandusky joke, folks. That's right. That's how we doing it. Flea flicker. We started this game with a flea flicker.
Oh, man.
The basketball equivalent.
Yeah, is there a basketball equivalent of terminology? Because that was definitely, we talked about high hips, loose hips, nice hips. There's butt conversations, always butt conversation in football, because that's where your power is from.
Yeah.
And speed, there's like, yeah, he's got a good butt. You can hear coaches say that.
Same in baseball. Like
Yeah.
all the power from hitting.
Yeah.
Right here, baby. Right here.
Yeah.
There's no basketball equivalent. You guys are too evolved for that. You are the most progressive sport, they say.
Yeah, well, we don't objectify our players. We say, got a nice personality, that kid. That's what we say.
A hard-working fella.
Yeah. Also, got nice open hips.
Open hips.
Yeah.
Okay, so open isn't objectifying. Do you believe, so watching Steph in the Warriors, in the Warriors is the right way to phrase it after last night. Steph went for 52, 10, 8, and 5 with 12 threes versus Memphis. I've been hesitant to accept the fact that Jimmy Butler has taken this team to being a legitimate title contender, but I have the dream here, a real NBA expert, to let me know, should I be serious? Because I know they're better. I know they're going to be a tough out, but I have a hard time convincing myself that they actually have a chance to win another title this year. Should I be should I change my opinion on that?
They have a chance? Change your opinion if they have a chance?
I mean, they obviously
No.
have a chance.
They have
but
I'm not talking about like a mathematical chance in the same
Right.
way the Timberwolves have a chance of winning the championship. They have a legitimate chance, yes. Are there obstacles? Hell yes, there are obstacles in that way. And chief among them is they don't have a lot of size, right? Like they're playing Quentin Post, who before this season no one even had heard that name before. They're playing Trace Jackson Davis has fallen out of the rotation to some extent. Kevon Looney is 700 years old.
Yeah.
And yet somehow not 30, I don't believe. Like he's
He got 700-year-old knees, it would appear.
old and young at the same
Doesn't
time.
have open hips.
No.
His
But although
close. Them hips close early. His hips close early. They are not 24 hours.
then you got Draymond and Jimmy Butler playing undersized pretty much, which they're all tough and they bring something to the table, but at some point you run into someone who's just big. And when you look at the Western Conference,
That's it.
whether it's Jokic or Chet Holmgren and Isaiah Hartenstein, or even someone like Şengün, right? Like you're gonna have problems. You're gonna have to see one of those guys on the ascent, maybe even multiple. And are they? You're saying, okay, my guys are tough enough and smart enough and experienced enough, because a lot of people don't realize guys like Moses Moody and Kuminga, like they won a championship too. They've been around. I don't know. know enough to say, oh, no, you're nuts. Right. But also not like, yeah, man, put it all on the Warriors.
This is one of the things about the NBA that people complain about is how the style of play has become a bit homogenous. But I can say when you look at the Western Conference, it does feel like there's some like eclectic roster constructions that is kind of interesting to see those things clash, like from what the Timberwolves have to the Warriors. Like, is there a chance that the Warriors could small ball their way past some of these teams? Because like that is always the hang up for the Warriors, or excuse me, not for the Warriors, for the Timberwolves or for a Gobert centered team is like, is he going to get taken off the floor? The Thunder, I guess, like Chet can run well enough, and they're so damn deep, man.
The Thunder is the perfect team. It's like you talking about. You're right. There are a bunch of like every team I look in the West, like, yeah. What about this? What about that? Look at the Thunder. I'm like, nah, y'all got it, man. Like I have no notes.
I mean, the criticism I guess that I've heard about the Thunder, and you could let me know if this is accurate or not, is very reliant on one specific player who is also very reliant on the referees blowing the whistle in certain situations, right?
I wouldn't say he's reliant. I think he plays a way that makes it very hard to guard him. Right? And either you're going to give up a shot that you don't feel comfortable giving up, or you're going to foul, right? So well, I guess it's not, but it always drives me insane when people are like, oh, the refs. Like, no, he's getting fouled.
Right.
He's getting fouled because he plays at a pace. And if you think about all the guys that are great at drawing fouls, that are not like Giannis, that are just because.
Talking about SGA, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, James Harden, Luka Doncic, like Jalen Brunson. What do all those guys have in common? They're not like you. One would think, oh, the guy that's blazingly quick and jumping over everybody, that's the guy that everyone fouls. Like, no, it's the guy that makes you play down at their pace. Yeah. They know how to slow it down and stop and speed up in small windows, and that's what gets unruly defenders off balance and makes them foul. But like, to me, it's not like, watch me fool the refs one more time. No, he's getting fouled. And he's getting fouled because you have no recourse.
Yeah, I mean, and I guess my point, you're right. I don't mean to say that he's like a foul grifter. Like, the fouls are genuine, but it is a part of his game. And the reason why I've heard that should give me some concern is like the refs don't call every game consistently. Yeah. And then in the clutch, when you need those plays, that the refs tend to swallow their whistles in those situations. Or their wishes, and they don't have like a true secondary like playmaker in a way that you would expect them. Like,
well, isn't that the bigger question? More than like Shai at this point, we expect him to be awesome in the playoffs, but the question is more Jalen Williams and Chet, and if they're going to play really well consistently as a second and third option.
My guy J-Dub, man, I can't believe you sitting here doubting J-Dub, man. Look. You're right. The game plan, which is always my favorite thing about the NBA, it's the difference between the NBA and NFL. NFL, you guys have a game plan. It's like a secret. Don't let anyone know what the game plan is. It's a game plan. They're not going to. Oh, my God. What are they doing? Oh, our heads are exploding. The NBA is like, yeah, hey, man, you want our game plan? Here it is. Your opponent, here, take it. Take a look at it. Now stop it. Try and stop it. Right? So the game plan is we're going to get the ball out of Shai's hand. We're going to throw two at him. We're going to make someone else beat us. We're going to see how much. If we can go to the well to J-Dub again and again and again, and him and Chet, how much they can continue to convert before it dissipates on them, right? The reality is, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander leads the league in scoring at like 33 points a game. 8 of those points come from the free throw line. So he's still scoring 25 a game, not getting to the free throw line. Again, it's so easy to say, oh, yeah, we just take Shai out the board, and then what are you going to do? Yeah, all right, go ahead. Yeah, there you go. Here you go. And here's my game plan. Now take him off the board.
Yeah, no, it's impossible to eliminate him, similar to the way that it's impossible to eliminate Jokic. You just try to get him in situations where you're more comfortable or where you think he is not as comfortable.
It's why in the NBA, a much more successful tactic when you see these amazing offensive players is the opposite. Let him get whatever he wants. Yeah. But nobody else breathes. Like, that's way more common because, again, 60 points last night aside, the idea is that nobody can continue to do that over the course of 48 minutes and also still be in the game and also still be able to defend and all those things.
I mean, that's why those players are so valuable, which is why there's another story, the NBA, that's kind of been percolating. We know how valuable those star players are, which is why the NBA is the league of tankers. If there's such a thing, there's no other league where I feel like it makes more sense to tank than an NBA, because the value of a player like that is so huge. And so there were a couple articles yesterday, one of which on ESPN, about the league's initiatives to try to address tanking.
The big one by Mike Vorkunov on The Athletic, where he started a 4-part series about ways to address tanking. Because it's not even saying that there's the process Sixers are happening. It's just that earlier in the season, 15, 20 games less, we're seeing teams like the Sixers play like a Delaware 87ers roster.
Yeah. Can I run down the Sixers roster? So Quentin Grimes is balling. He's the player, the name that you know. Then they got Lonnie Walker the fourth, Adin Bona, Justin Edwards, Ricky Council, the fourth.
Yeah.
The fourth. Yeah.
Clyde mentioned that on the broadcast, but isn't Lonnie Walker, his siblings are named Lonnie? Or is...
First of all, I am so, I was like, why would you be listening? Oh, yeah, that's right, because of the Lee man.
It's terrible. I don't want to talk about it.
I
do love Clyde. That was his 80th birthday on Sunday.
Let me tell you something.
Cute.
That's how I did well on the SAT verbal. Hand to God. Listening to Walt Clyde Frazier, because he would say things, serendipitous bounce on the left side. Like, what does serendipitous mean? Oh, the Knicks are in their Shangri-La and there's Xanadu. I'm like, what's a Xanadu? How do you even spell it? All of those words came up in my SAT verbal. Shout out to Walt Clyde Frazier.
Okay, it's not Lonnie Walker. I think it might be Ricky Council.
Oh.
I'll get on this.
There you go.
He's the fourth because he has other brothers. So it's not like...
It was described as a George Foreman situation on the broadcast.
And together they form
Yes, Council's
Pretty
two
Ricky.
older brothers are also named after his father, Ricky Council. Both Ricky Council 2 and Ricky Council 3 also played college basketball.
Wow. Together they form Pretty Ricky. Grind with me.
Our first show, we learned about, or we discussed a little bit about naming conventions in families.
Man.
That one is...
Hold on. Leroy and G-Roy. Hold on, man.
G-Roy's a great Maryland receiver.
Let me just say right now, there is nobody I want to see on the playground after I done called someone, maybe your mama. And then here come Leroy and G-Roy. Like, what you say about my mama? Like, those are bullies, right? That's the name of twin bullies that come out. It's Leroy and G-Roy.
They definitely seem like the characters from a 90s cartoon that were always causing havoc that the gang had to get away from.
And then they always refer to each other by their name. Ain't that right, Leroy?
Yeah, hell yeah, G-Roy.
Yeah. Leroy and G-Roy.
We talked about this on my show a little bit yesterday, and I kind of fumbled into what I thought was a reasonable tanking solution. So I want to hear, I'll throw this to you. I think when we are talking about creating incentives, that's the problem, is the teams are incentivized. Like the 76ers need to lose enough games so that they are in the bottom 6 so they retain their draft pick. This is not just tanking for a draft pick. When you have these protected pick trades, which I think with OKC, the 76ers have a trade, they need to lose enough games just to keep their draft pick.
Yes.
And so you want to create some sort of structure that eliminates the incentive to lose. But why that's not a full solve for tanking is because you also need to create some incentive to win. And because you could just be like, all right, we're out of this. Yep. All right, being the worst doesn't get us a better chance. But why would I put my good players out there if we're not going to make the playoffs? We have no chance. They could get hurt.
Okay, so that you hit on exactly the point. The point isn't that the incentive to lose is too great. It's that it's not greater than the incentive to win. Right? And so I've heard things where like, yo, we should have a tournament of all the teams that don't make the playoffs, and then that's the team that gets the number 1 pick. I said, okay, so you basically just incentivize whoever's in the bottom of the playoff picture to be like, do I really want my head beaten in by the Cavs or the Thunder, or do I want to go get Cooper Flag? Right. So like if that were the rule right now, that's what I would accuse the Miami Heat of doing, of tanking so that they miss the playoffs so that they can then go run roughshod on Washington and Charlotte and all those teams.
I like this idea. Let's do this.
So the problem is, as you said, it's the incentive does not match, right? I think Philadelphia is a bad example because they are specifically in a weird spot where they wanted to win. They entered the season wanting to win games, wanting to win a championship. And even as late as maybe January, they were like, it could still happen, right? If we just get healthy at the right time. And then injuries just pretty much cut them off at the knees. On top of that, they owe a pick to Oklahoma City. Do you know why they owe that pick, by the way?
No, trade?
Yeah, well, yes. But do you know what
Good one, Dominique.
Yeah, well played. About 5 years ago, maybe a little bit more, the Sixers had Al Horford on their roster. They paid him a bunch of money, and it didn't work. This is a bad move. And we got to get rid of him. Who could take this salary out of our hands? And Oklahoma City was like, I'll take it for a couple of picks. Oof. And that's what it is.
And then
and by the way, then OKC flipped him to Boston for some more picks.
And he's still being productive. Playing too many minutes for somebody his age right now, but he's still being productive.
Guarding Luka on the perimeter in big moments.
Yeah.
So where we're at here is to me, I think we solved the problem. 5 years ago, this shit was out of control. But All-Star break, I'm tanking. All these teams were going heavy. Now, because of the play-in, you've extended the window of teams saying, I could do it. I could put something together. And you know what Miami did 2 years ago has now given the play-in a different meaning. It's like, hey, it's not just the right to get your head bashed in. Maybe it could be you, right? So they have solved that for all but the 4 or 5 teams that are awful every year, which I think is kind of part of the process. Everyone needs bad teams.
I mean, I'm fine. They're going to be bad teams. What I don't appreciate is when, I look at the 76ers and they're giving DMPs to Kelly Oubre, and it's like, play your best players. Try to have your best. And even if it's just 4 teams, I feel like at least, and I'm normally not one who, I'm going to defend the players most of the times.
Yeah.
But I have found myself becoming a little bit more sympathetic and a lot more sympathetic to fans where it's like, look, we got a whole damn season. This is my team. Y'all not even trying?
This guy.
And no, I'm serious.
No, but I like the idea of you, for years, Dominique is like, F them fans, man, just pay me my check. And then a couple of years removed from retiring, you're like, is this what you guys have been witnessing this is preposterous.
It's not, because that's not what we do in football. So I haven't had and you can't create the same situation in football because 82 games means money. We're never going to go down to fewer games because I think that would help in the situation.
It's none of that stuff, right? In football, it's a very simple system that creates that. It's not the scarcity of games. It's the scarcity of guaranteed dollars, right? So everybody is kind of clawing at this pot of money.
Right.
Whereas
so I would disagree with that because I think the scarcity of guaranteed dollars may motivate the players, but that's not what motivates the teams. What motivates the teams is a couple different things. I think it's the complexity of the game of football. Football is not a game where you can get one player in the same way that basketball, you get one player, it's worth it because that will turn your team around. I think football, we've never really seen that happen. It's so rare. And even all the great quarterbacks that we talk about,
But Aaron Rodgers, he turned the Jets around.
Exactly.
Full 360.
Case in point. And I think it's because of the complexity.
For the math nerds.
Case of the complexity of football is the reason why so many times we're like, we know this team's going to be good. We know that. And you can't do it. You have to build up. The teams that are consistently good are teams that build up that type of culture and are good continuously. I don't think that if you remove guaranteed contracts from basketball that you would get a better product because the teams would still be incentivized to create DMPs or to tell some guy who's never really been that good to go out there and get his numbers and they lose. You have to remove that incentive.
So there's a couple of things, right? Number one is the players, the teams, when they play these guys. So let's use Philadelphia as an example, right? I don't know of any fan who's like, I bought tickets to Sixers-Knicks. And then I found out Kelly Oubre was a DNP. Right. How dare they? The number of guys who actually that move the needle on that of I don't feel like I'm getting my money's worth is rather limited.
Yeah, I think that's the backwards way of looking at that, though, because it's not about Kelly Oubre. It's the fact that if you're a Sixers fan and you get to see Jokic once a year when he comes to Philly or Giannis, and it's when those guys we're playing a dog water Philly team that's playing their G League players. You know what, Giannis, we're going to give you the night off.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that, for instance, the Bucks have that luxury, or any of those teams.
Giannis might not have been the best example.
But I'm just saying, look up and down all the standings.
I don't think that matters.
It's really easy. Cleveland, Oh, they don't have to play that. Yes, they do, because they're chasing the number 1 overall seed. They want a home court advantage in the finals, right? Denver, they're chasing 2 in Houston. Houston trying to keep Denver off their back. Lakers trying to move up to 2 or 3. Warriors trying to stay out of 7, 8, 9. Like, every single team every night at this point has a reason to play their guys other than if it's a back-to-back. It becomes a mitigated risk, right? So from that standpoint. From the other standpoint, if I'm the Sixers, it's part of it, sure. It fits in with, like, yeah, we want to lose these games. But the other part of it is, why am I going to play Kelly Oubre, who I know who he is? I know what he's about. How do I figure out if Ricky Council is really good or not, right? The number of guys, so Miami did this for years with Kendrick Nunn, with Duncan Robinson, with Haywood Highsmith. These are all guys who actually got called up the year before. Right at the end of the year, and they're like, all right, let's see what we got here. And then they come back, and the next year, like, this guy's in the rotation. I never heard of him. Yeah, he's been here. But, like, you didn't realize it.
So I think I don't think we need to argue whether it's a problem or not. The perception is out there, and whether you're playing.
That's the problem.
No.
That's if you want to talk about what the NBA's problem is that we allow perception.
But it's not.
To run our league.
That's trying to pretend as if it's only perception.
It is.
It's also fact. Teams are tanking. Let's not. Come on, teams aren't tanking.
It's not a problem though.
It is a problem.
Why is it a problem?
Because the game that we got last night, the games where people are trying, are a better product. The idea that it's okay to have some distributors of your product say, you know what, we are going to continuously, purposely put out a trash version of the product stinks. That's not a good precedent to set, and as the precedent's been set, that's not a good culture to indulge.
Chris, you ever been to McDonald's and they told you the McFlurry machine wasn't working?
Hate that.
Every time you go to McDonald's.
I still.
I'm not sure what that. So what's okay.
Some McDonald's don't have a working McFlurry machine.
So
do we boycott the McDonald's?
No, we still eat.
We still eat, man. We still go. Okay, give me a 2 cheeseburger meal and some nuggets on the side. Maybe that $5 meal that comes with all this stuff in there. I really like McDonald's.
That's such
Sponsor
backward.
me.
That's such backwards thinking to me.
No, it's not backwards thinking.
It is back. So hold on.
Everyone's thinking backwards.
Can I ask you a question? Mm-hmm. Would you like the NBA better if no one tanked? If everyone tried their hardest?
I don't think it would make a difference.
Okay.
Well, I don't think it would make a difference.
It absolutely would
I
make a
don't
difference.
think Washington is playing all its guys. Do you care?
No, I think that teams construct organizations construct teams based on the fact that they are incentivized to be terrible. I think we will be looking at a different NBA. I think we all accept that the NBA is more talented than it's ever been. But we know that some teams are like, you know what? We need to be really bad right now. We construct a roster that way. We bench players, and we have games that are non-competitive that no one cares about. And I guess I wanted to get into some of the solves for tanking, but I somehow found the one man in America who thinks that tank is not an issue.
I think
even the league, even Adam Silver wants them to stop tanking, but you're like, no, it's cool.
I think
we don't need McFlurries.
We're doing 2019 sports talk right now. Like it's not an issue. And the only reason why people are talking about it this year, because I don't remember anybody opening their mouth even halfway to talk about this. The only reason why it's this year is because there's a guy who's coming out that everyone is tantalizing over. And when you got a guy like that, everyone is going to look at every single action as, oh, see, they're tanking for flag again. Like, no, it's just sometimes this shit is cyclical and bad teams are just bad. And whether they play a player who wouldn't start on 30 NBA teams or not does not change the product, right? The other thing you're assuming, Mr. I love the players, is you're saying that, like, who the hell are these guys? Man, there might be another guy coming in, one of these guys who's playing, getting that time.
Agreed. There might be a guy in there. That doesn't mean that you should intentionally break the McFlurry machine.
So Memphis,
what are we talking about? Everybody loves McFlurries. And you like, who cares? We don't need a McFlurry.
No, my point is this, is the McFlurry machine is not working in some McDonald's. That doesn't make you stop going to the McDonald's.
But if you are the McDonald's with a bad McFlurry machine,
you think their sales go down?
You want to go fix it?
If you want a McFlurry, you'd go to.
You might discover another item, though. There could be other items there.
This is horse poop. Speaking of the NBA and people who are not performing that well, there's a guy in Atlanta we were talking yesterday a bit about how I was not gonna race Taylor because I didn't want to get injured.
Dog.
This is so I was talking trash to Taylor But then I saw this video pop up on my socials, and now I'm no longer sure that I want to embarrass Taylor in a race today.
This is the partner.
Was this guy tanking is the real question.
Tag, go! Oh!
That's a blown out knee, right?
Oh, no! Hold on. Let's make sure my guy is good.
The announcer.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Other guy just continuing to perform.
It's Bagman.
It's not really a
His name is
fair
Bagman.
game at this point.
Was that bad sportsmanship to keep playing?
Hell no.
You don't think they would have just what was the prize on this?
Ragman.
For the audio audience, there's two people competing. They're doing the thing where they have to go make a layup, and then they can come back and play tic-tac-toe. And one guy tears his ACL and is just laying down, and the other guy continues playing.
We're not sure that he tore his ACL, are we?
Well, allegedly. But here's the thing. He goes to check on him, and she turns and looks at the camera and goes, yikes, like she's working on The Office or something. What are you doing? Like, you got to vamp. You got to vamp that whole time. You got to be like, hey, man, hope you're doing all right. We're going to get you taken care of with a
How
good
is this
bag.
her fault?
I mean, did I say it's your fault?
Oh, you're finding fault in her being like, oh no, I don't know what to do. This
Yes!
has never happened before.
You got a microphone on. You got to keep talking, keep feeling. You can't just look at the camera and go like,
Defender of tanking, hater of women.
there you go.
I mean the dream.
I mean, do we know he's actually hurt, or is that like I'm embarrassed, so let me lay down and pretend I have a serious injury?
Wow.
To save face.
This is wild.
Another reason why you keep vamping. You make him prove it. Go ahead, stand up.
She goes, let's make sure my guy is good. What could she possibly have done wrong here?
The part where she's just silent and the guy goes to go check on the other guy, and she's like, oops. Dang is also not vamping, by the way. Dang! Dang!
I mean, it's an in-game
Dang.
thing. It's not on television.
They
Yeah,
got like
there's
60 seconds. They got to go.
There's 20,000. Hold on, it's in Atlanta. There's 12,000 people in that building.
That guy's fine.
I guess maybe you should have some protocol. It's like it's not a crazy thing. It's not like the building got hit by a meteor. Like, we got old people trying to do sporting events. In her mind, she could be like, maybe, possibly, what do I do if somebody blows out a knee? And then it happens.
Do you remember The Dark Knight Rises? Remember that scene
when
where
the
Heinz
earthquake-
Ward is running and the whole field blows up?
I remember.
There you go. Now, what you haven't seen is the director's cut, in which the in-arena announcer keeps going. That isn't thrown
Amin
off.
was right, and that in-stadium announcer was a man.
That's it.
Yeah, I just was happy that it wasn't Amin embarrassing himself playing basketball.
Favorite Brad Williams. Now, Dan, imagine what you just experienced being a 6-foot whatever man. Now put that in a 4-foot man as I'm trying to cross the street last night, looking at certain puddles going, this could be it. This could be where I go, because the water was moving very fast. I forgot my floaties. I can't swim. I have a very large head that sinks. I have a very fat butt that floats. That's not good for swimming. I'm very nervous. Florida is not a good climate for me.
He instantly goes upside down.
I do. I turn into a fly girl in a club, just face down, ass up, like that's me, instantly in a puddle. Here lies Brad, killed by puddle. That could happen.
Brad Williams makes me laugh all the time, but rarely as much as when he's greeting Mike Golick and they are doing that shoulder handshake, and Mike Golick has to get down and Brad Williams has to climb up. Why didn't you just go in for a straight handshake
Because
to say hello?
Because then I nut tap him. Because if I go straight handshake, there's the possibility. And by the way, how much, Gojo, were you just holding back? You're like, if I go full shoulder into this guy, he may evaporate into Skittles.
I was more thinking on if I went to pull in, because we went the dap with the hug.
Yeah.
And so there's that pull in the middle, and I was like, are we going to airlift Brad right now? Is this going to end up being like a swinging situation?
Did you go football mentality, low man wins, I'm not going to let this guy beat me.
That is true. I thought about just getting all the way down.
You got down pretty low. I thought you were going to throw out your back.
I was Jason Kelsey tush push status, trying to get down on all fours there. It was good.
And now I'm realizing that I missed my calling as an O lineman.
God, could you
Low
imagine
man wins.
the Brad Williams led tush push? Unstoppable.
Well, not only was it funny because visually that was funny, you were also interrupting a story of Brad Williams kicking a one-legged man out of his last show. That's the story that you interrupted.
I did. I did. There is no love lost between people who share parking in the handicapped space. He was gone.
This segment is presented by LinkedIn Jobs. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/DLS. Terms and conditions apply.
We back, and we are bringing in another teammate to help us get this dub in Game 3, the rubber match. The great David Samson's in the building. What up, David?
How are you? I wish I were in the building.
Yeah.
Sadly, I'm just on a little square, but my voice is strong, and my bottom is fresh.
Nope.
Okay.
There we go. Love that you got a
flea flicker. Every first down. That's how we start.
Oh, I love it, man. So there are a couple of things I want to get to with you. There's a game that I want to play with you also. So my social media algorithm has shown me recently that a lot of wives and girlfriends are playing music for their significant others in hopes that they can clap on beat. I feel like I'm looking around this whole thing, and I'm like, you know who I think would do a great job of this is David Samson. So, David, how are you musically? You have that type of rhythm?
I'm a big Jack Wagner fan. All I need is just a little more time to be sure how I feel. Is it just in my mind?
It's incredible. It's outstanding. The only other question that I had for you, or not only other question, there's one other question that's not on the list of things that I wanted to talk to you about is, have you ever seen or reviewed a Tyler Perry movie?
I have not reviewed it on the show, and I've seen two of them is my guess.
Wow, which ones?
How many Medeas have there been?
Too many.
Amadeus?
Like 7?
What's Medea?
5?
I think he means Medea.
Oh.
Medea, tomato.
So you've seen a couple of them? Which ones?
I think I've seen 2.
Medea Goes to Prison?
Was it?
It's like saying I've seen a couple of Ernest movies. Like,
Medea Says
right.
Boo?
Or Fast and the Furious is.
Wasn't there?
Was it Halloween one?
Yeah, was there a Halloween one? I don't know. I thought there was a Halloween one.
If you're listening or viewing this at home and you're like, oh, Dominique's so funny, man. He's just making up stuff. That's real.
I believe that's a real one.
There are 11 listed Medea movies. There's Diary of a Black Woman, which I guess is where we were introduced to.
Mad Black Woman.
Yeah. Where we were introduced to Medea. Then Medea's Family Reunion, Meet the Browns, Medea Goes to Jail, I Can Do Bad All by Myself, Medea's Big Happy Family, Medea's Witness Protection, Medea Gets a Job, a Medea Christmas, Boo, a Medea Halloween.
Gets a job! 1-0 Tyler.
Oh, good for
You
him.
can't get a movie made these days, and he got 11 of them done with the character. Is that a more successful franchise than what Eddie Murphy did with his Oh God,
Nutty Professor.
I'm having a moment.
Nutty Professor.
Nutty Professor.
Clumps.
Who's got the better, bigger franchise? It's got to be Tyler Perry.
I mean, Tyler, if we're counting dollars, then yes, Tyler Perry. If we're counting like actual movies that people want to watch, I would say Eddie.
Yeah, I don't consider them the same category. I feel like they're playing different sports. It's like Tyler Perry is like producer, actor, guy, and Eddie Murphy is like
talent.
Yeah, one of the greatest movie stars and comedians in the history of everything. Maybe his franchise isn't the best, but that tends to be the case. Is like the most profitable things are not always the highest quality, right?
That is a very sad statement, but a very true statement. And it comes on the heels of Val Kilmer passed away last night. Yes. And I was thinking about the Batman franchise. And I was thinking about all the different actors who have played Batman and where Val sort of stands. And is it because he was sick, young, and that becomes more sympathetic? Are people going to remember Batman Forever as a better movie than it actually was? I think about whether or not sort of early tragic death changes people's reputation and the art that they made. And I think it really does often.
Let me tell you right now, it's not going to. People are not going to remember that movie kindly. By the way, that was Cinephobe episode. Which one was it? 245. You can catch that wherever you catch podcasts.
Doing great here, man.
Yeah, thank you.
I would love. I don't know if I would have been more impressed or happy or frustrated if David said he's seen all the Madea movies. I don't know how that makes you feel because I know that this from my gallivant with Charlie, his friend who is a well-to-do white goes to see every Madea movie on opening night, which like my reaction to that is like, wait, why? Yeah. Like, wait, what did you? I mean,
there's an angle. What's your angle?
Like you just appreciate the cinematic quality of it, or you laughing at or with Madea is my question.
You guys ever heard of a movie called White Man's Burden?
Yes.
It has John Travolta in it.
It's like the flip, right?
Flip-flop, right. Reality Switch Sides was the tagline, right? We also reviewed it for Cinephobe, by the way. But in the Reality Switch Sides universe, where black people are the predominant culture or whatever, if I heard a white guy say, I go to watch Madea on opening night, he's getting flagged. Red flag. You got to bring him in. What's the deal? What are you up to, boy? What's going on? You into?
Oh, David, did you see the clip of the Hawks fan falling during the in-arena tic-tac-toe layup game last night?
Yeah,
because
of course. He tore his knee.
Well, perhaps.
Allegedly.
A few weeks ago, we were talking about what you, as the Marlins president, would give fans if they were injured on premises. So what's this guy getting if this is at one of your sporting events?
So this is a good example where you don't get to do this unless you've signed a waiver, a specific liability waiver. So we could get away with absolutely nothing, but we'd probably give him a nice bag on the way out the door, and that's about it. But he is really up to himself. He's got to show insurance prior to doing an activity like that. You don't just get, like when you have fans running in the outfield, what's the one Atlanta does?
The freeze.
Philly, the freeze. When they have to beat the freeze, can't you just picture the guys like pulling a hammy or something? So in order for that to work, you do sign something. So no, I would just apologize to the guy, say tough break, and help him to the doctor.
When you say a bag, you don't mean of money. You mean a bag of like a T-shirt and a hat. Yeah.
That's exactly what I mean. A T-shirt, a hat, a giveaway, maybe throwing a bobblehead, maybe an autographed ball. If it's actually torn, that's a torn ACL is probably an autographed ball. If it's ACL, MCL, and meniscus, probably an autographed bat.
What if he throw the PCL in there too? We get all of them. Then
alphabet soup.
Then you get to meet somebody.
Oh,
if you tear the
David
PCL
Samson.
also, we'll take you down and we'll have a player visit you on your way being wheeled into the ambulance.
So, question, do you do the ligament test yourself, or do you take his word for it? Because Billy is alleging that maybe he was embarrassed that he kind of slipped and fell and was sort of doing like, the grape lady, like.
Yeah, you just grab your knees to save face a little bit. Like, oh, that poor guy, he got hurt. He can't continue. And it's really just embarrassment.
Yeah, you need the MRI results. This is not based on the honor system.
Now I just want to hear the grape lady. But David,
I feel bad because I don't think she was faking it. It's just the sound.
David, is so there's no circumstance where you would not just take care of this guy? Like I'm looking at
care?
I'm looking at if you tear,
Like do the surgery?
No, not use yourself,
Oh,
but
wait,
pay for it.
take care?
No. I mean, take care of his knee. There's no circumstance because you have this waiver protection. There's no circumstances where you would waive the waiver and recognize that, all right, this guy is in such bad condition and it's so unfortunate that we are going to at least take care of your surgery and rehab, right?
What the hell are you talking about?
I literally don't understand the words you're saying, but it must be me. I don't know if I have a bad connection. I think I hear you right, but Dominique, no, there is not a scenario under which we would pay for the surgery of someone who gets hit or hurt during an on-field game that we would play in between innings.
Okay, so there's a couple reasons why I would push back and think that it would be worth considering. One is goodwill with your fan base, which maybe you don't care about. And two is long-term protection against when this guy can't afford to pay for his own surgery because he doesn't have insurance and his whole life and family falls apart 10 years from now. There's a big expose about how David Samson had a waiver in his face rather than help him out. Like I would think that the $20,000 or whatever it would cost on the front end to get somebody right will be worth protecting yourself because you know what's not going to matter? Your stupid ass waiver when you say, hey, I understand that his life has fallen apart and he is now without home, but don't worry. We were legally protected, guys, right? You have any fear of that?
No, and Dominique, I would encourage you.
No.
I understand what you're saying, but I would like you to find one. You try to make me out as the only team president who acted this way. Find another team that does that when there's an injury to a fan, whether it's a foul ball or someone slips and falls. You may do a settlement for a lawsuit. We talked about that on a recent show. But paying for the surgery, find me one other team that does that.
Give me. Oh, sorry.
No, I'm just saying the waivers. This is standard practice across all sports, across all arenas. My first job in the NBA was game ops, and so we were the people that had to pick these people from the crowd to do these things. And the first thing you do is you hand them a piece of paper. So you got to sign this. It says anything happens out here, you're on your own.
I feel like you probably picked people in hopes that they would do something funny.
No,
I don't think you were out there looking for athletes.
Oh no, it's all about. You know what it was mostly about is making sure the two were equal. Okay. Like you didn't want like one person was like doing windmills and the other one was doing that, right?
All right, let's lift the spirits. Give me some grape, lady.
Vineyard tours, seminars, arts and crafts. It's a lot of fun, a whole day. Stop. Oh, oh. Oh, stop. I can't breathe. Stop. No. Oh,
boy,
dear.
I think she's actually hurt.
No,
I think she is. Yeah, she's hurt. She took a hard fall off there.
So the background is like they're squashing grapes under their feet,
making wine,
and then like she says like something to the effect of like, okay, let's race, and then she says stop, but then she keeps going. Right? Like we're like, all right, let's stop. Oh, psych! We're not stopping. And that's when she falls and busts her ass.
She's on a platform too. Like it's not just busting grapes on the ground. For whatever reason, they had to elevate.
Apparently, she broke a couple ribs.
Did she?
Yeah,
It sounds like
she stays
it.
out of the spotlight now.
I can't breathe. Stop.
But this was 2006. This is one of the early YouTube viral videos.
E-Bomb's World.
No, I think she is.
Yeah, she's hurt. She took a hard fall off there.
It was her and the guy who got the fly that flew in his mouth. You guys
Oh
remember him?
yeah, where he went from being the news guy to being our uncle.
I hate this country ass shit.
By the way, Dominique, I suggest if you and Taylor do some sort of race, do not sign any medal of waivers.
Good idea. Good call.
David will try to slide you on.
I'm
Resist.
not signing any waivers. You know what? I think, Billy, can you somehow find my guy that's behind Taylor in that race?
Jason?
Yeah, Jason Mason.
Okay.
That was the guy on the thing. We'll get to that in a second. David, I respect you in your sport of baseball. There's the picture of Taylor.
So find that guy.
Yeah. Hey, Billy Gill.
What is Google
Find
Lens?
that guy.
We can get you Taylor.
Not Taylor. We got
We
Taylor.
can barely
We got
get
Taylor. Give me that guy. I got a question for you, or I do want to give you an opportunity to discuss the torpedo bats. Like, I feel like we've been all over the place. I'm not a fan of the torpedo bat. Lots of people are fans. I'm confused why every player doesn't have a torpedo bat right now. What are your thoughts on the torpedo bat in MLB right now, David?
So let's start with why every player doesn't have one. Bats, I'm trying to think of the football equivalent to a piece of equipment that you use that is so personal, it's so based on feel, and that there are major differences between bats, both in length, all within, it could be shoes for a football player.
In the
spikes.
NBA? Shoes
In
too?
the NBA, I can't think of anything, maybe how you tape your legs or how you tape your ankles or the shoes that you wear, the sneakers. Why everybody doesn't wear full high tops is funny to me because it can help protect the ankle. But in bats, to me, are the only equivalent I can think of is a golf club, where golfers have a certain feel of what clubs they like. If you talk to a baseball player, a bat is second most personal item to their glove. But a bat is how you make your money. And what the torpedo bat is, it's not new at all. Players have been using it. Non-Yankees have been using it, including last year. But what it does is it gives you analytically a better chance to have hard contact when you hit the ball where you're supposed to hit it. It doesn't mean that it's the right configuration for every player, because when a player holds a bat, and I've spoken, Ichiro's a great person to talk to. He treats his bats like their family. He wasn't allowed. We were not allowed. Part of the deal with Ichiro is we weren't allowed to travel his bats with the other equipment because there's a bat case that all the bats go in. His bats were totally in a separate case, totally separate, never to be lost, and never to be touched by anyone, by the way. And it's a feel that you have not just at the bottom, but it's the weight and how the weight's distributed. And what the torpedo bats do is they distribute the weight differently, and some players just don't want that. So it really is a personal choice.
Wait, hold on. You got Ichiro's bat sitting in first class and watching the other bats go behind as it chips champagne, like, peasants.
Oh, those the other bats are not in first class. They're not in coach. They're in steerage.
So where
they
is
are
Ichiro's
shoved
bat?
onto the plane in a way that would make your eyes water.
Jack.
But Ichiro's bats
They're
were
down
special.
there dancing.
Like us at Dan's wedding. Remember that? That's a callback. At Dan's wedding, for those who don't know, Dan's wedding, there was like two sections. There was like the hoity-toity section. That's where Dan Patrick and Sarah Spain and Mina Kimes and Pablo Torre all hanging out. And then there was the Titanic section. It was me and Chris and Billy
Ryan Cortez.
and Ryan Cortez.
Is it true that Ichiro kept his bat in like a humidor?
When you say humidor, I associate that with a mechanism inside that does something with temperature. Is that accurate? Yeah, so it's not a humidor. It was a protective case that very much would not let them touch any other bat, would not let them touch each other. They were very much separated.
Wow, a little bat segregation. I don't know how I feel about that.
Prison. No touching.
All right, Charlie, I think you got something for me, right?
Yeah, we're doing a little bit of research. We're doing a little bit of research. David, was there an issue when you were at the Marlins of shooting a T-shirt gun that hit a woman in the head that you guys got sued over? Oh. Would you care to comment?
Does it sound
I
familiar?
would say I wouldn't comment, only in that would be one of scores of lawsuits that every team gets, standard. We ended up not being able to shoot like hard things like hot dogs too high. It's why when you go to a game, it stinks. Only the people with good seats tend to get stuff these days, because we were told by lawyers, don't shoot stuff into the upper decks. Not that we had the upper deck open all that often, but don't shoot stuff too deep because you could end up hurting someone. Did someone get hit by a T-shirt? I sort of remember that, but it didn't matter enough to me. I'm going to say maybe that's a 10K issue at best.
So no bag with no T-shirt, no hat.
No, that would no, because once the lawsuit comes in, then there's no conversation at all except with the lawyers, and then you're just talking settlement.
How often would you guys get sued a year for stuff like that? Because like this past weekend, I was at Disney and I was sitting down eating. I was like, man, there are like hundreds of thousands of people here. They must get sued 100 times a day by someone for something stupid.
I think that's too many, but I would say over the course of a year, at least 10 every year. It's not 100 a day, but at least 10. And that's actual filing of suits related to things that happen in the stands. There's all sorts of other lawsuits that happen just during the course of a business. And we weren't the only team. You sue your corporate sponsors when they don't pay, or your season ticket holders when they don't pay. every team does that as well. But you're talking about slip and fall cases specifically. I would say 10.
Most frivolous one that you've received or that you remember?
I mean, to me, remember my perspective, I find them all to be frivolous.
But
I think the most frivolous lawsuit I ever saw is when we were blamed for the divorce of a couple.
There you go.
And
there you go.
The argument was that the wife was flirting with players and managers down near the dugout, and that caused the divorce. And so we were sued, and we were blamed for the dissolution of the marriage.
So was the argument where your players were too handsome, your players were too approachable, your players were too flirtatious? Like, just existing is not, I would think, enough to put in a legal argument, right?
Oh, you can put anything in a legal argument, of course. But yes, this was an interesting one. I actually got served personally for this one, being blamed for having introduced the woman to a player or a manager that then led to some nefarious activity that then led to the dissolution of marriage. Of course, I had no recollection, and of course, that's not actionable. Of course, that's ridiculous. So, of course, it was dismissed summarily immediately. I never appeared, never testified. I only had to do 1 or 2 depositions on it. But it is crazy to me that you could blame a third party. It's like blaming a bartender for your slump buster. It just doesn't really make sense to me.
Wait, so was there more to this relationship than just like the introduction?
So allegedly there was an introduction that led to things that happen after people are introduced.
I mean, not every time people are introduced.
David, for those of us that aren't familiar, what is a slump buster?
Nope. I don't want to talk about that. Play some music for me, see if David can clap, guys. Let's play a little music.
Over Zoom. You feel good about this, Dom?
Does he know what a beat is?
I feel like he's giving us multiple claps to catch one of them.
There's one tempo. Like, get the tempo.
Or maybe there's a delay.
4 claps?
That's not a clap. Either way, whether it's a delay or not, this is not on beat. On beat has to be.
It's on beat in my ear, Dominique.
That's the only answer.
That's all we
the only
needed,
answer you
buddy.
can ever give.
That's all we needed, buddy. All right. I want to get back to Nope, I don't. I do not want to talk about that. You nailed it. Good job, David. You won. But I do want to get back to the idea that, so you introduced these people. So they weren't just like regular fans, right? You didn't just, these were hoity-toity,
I have no recollection,
people.
Your Honor.
Ooh.
I do not know of what you speak.
Oh, hold on.
Do you know how many times? Hold on. This is insane that Dominique, you of all people in this room, if you wanted to meet someone in the stands, do you agree that there's someone in your clubhouse or in your organization who could effectuate such meeting?
This is again, last time we were on together, you were awesome. You're the MVP of that week, and it was great. But I remember saying this to you then also, is football is very different from basketball and baseball. We don't have that. Like, that's just not a thing.
What?
No, so like, if you've ever been on a football field, it's not quite. Yeah, I know how you guys are. You guys are on the road, you play 100 games, and the fans are much closer, and there's time to look around. That's not how football works. It's so rare for a football player to be in one of the 16 games of the year to look around and say, oh, where's the baddie section? There's a baddie. Go get him. I know this happens, but it doesn't happen in football.
Hold on. You're on the sideline. You're telling me there's no like, huh? Like that,
I mean,
that never not you specifically.
No, I know what you're saying. It's rare if it happens. Like football,
guys are locked in on the game.
Yeah,
I'm not buying it.
Me neither.
Okay, y'all don't have to buy it. I imagine that there is a time when it's happened, but generally the fans are not as close. The weather is not as nice, and you aren't in. We have fewer games. There's more locked in. So of all the players, and there are only a couple of players who have that level of pull. Like most of the guys on a football roster are trying to stay on the roster. They're not looking up to see what they're going to do tonight. We fly into a city. You have dinner. You have a curfew. You go win the game. You get on a plane, and you fly out. I'm trying to explain to you guys that it's very different from what you guys do, where you go to a city, you hang around, you play a game, you got another game a night later, you come back to that city in 2 weeks. It's a whole different. You got 82 games or 100. Well, you got 160 some games.
162, 81 on the road.
Right,
like a bunch of nerds, man.
Yeah, we are. Football players are nerds. That's why people like us.
Did the guy renew his season tickets the next season?
They did not renew after the divorce.
The thing that we do have.
Did the players stay on the team?
No, but not for that reason.
Wow. So it was all for naught.
We do have a little bit of this type of behavior is in seating charts. It's like
on the plane?
No, not on the plane. In the stadium.
Oh, where you got to make sure the family section is different from the jump ball
I'm sure
section.
that you guys are aware of that, and also the wristbands to get into. There's like a family room or like an area, a backstage sort of area where you go to if you need a break or to get some food or to meet the players after the game. That's a big thing, and that's where we've had a couple fights where someone gave someone else a wristband. So like
flavor of the week
in a city, there are obviously some people who frequent the clubs and parties, and there was someone who was friends with multiple people on the team. And they let him into the family room.
You guys
created a beef.
You guys never have that conversation at the beginning of the year, right? Like
I think it was no.
I'm saying as an organization, David. I'm sure you guys have this too. It's like you get this many family room credentials. This is for family. This isn't for
right.
Like
So you have that conversation. But if you are new to the city and you meet someone that you like and she becomes your girlfriend, and you give her a wristband to get into the family and friends, and you did not know that maybe she was someone else's friend at some point.
Or family.
And then they get into the room, and then there's some issue because the wife is like, what's this person doing here? Yeah.
So you're only talking about home games then, because on the road you said there's no time to meet anybody because you have dinner, curfew, play, win the game, you said. Yeah, and then fly out. So you mean the home games.
Speaking of these type of things, you think Zion Williamson is a bust?
Oh, I think that I've been talking about that on Nothing Personal for years now. I don't care how good you are when you're on the court. If you're only on the court 30 games a year, you can't be considered a successful player. Now, would I rather have John Morant or Zion? I've said from the beginning I'd rather have John Morant, and that's given all of his off-court issues. Frankly, I'd probably rather go none of the above. But Zion's out of chances for me. They gave him that huge max deal, which made me crazy, a total waste, because every year with him it is something, and they just shut him down now. And you're going to say, oh, it's for tanking, there's nothing to play for. No, I want to see that guy actually play and perform, not have him sit the way he always does. I think Zion Williamson is a clear bust.
You're so angry about it, though. Like that's the thing that
I want players to play.
Well, Zion is the lightest that he's been since college. It appears that like the injuries, some of them I guess you could argue about his fault. And you said even taking along Ja's off-court issues, I think you could argue that Zion has some off-court concerns that could get in the way also. But I guess I'm just surprised and shocked. But it reiterates how valuable players of this level of talent are in the NBA.
Zion is the toughest kind of case study because he is good.
Yeah,
like if he wasn't good, this would be an easy conversation. His contract, as you know, David, has provisions that are not common in the NBA in terms of a level of non-guarantee, a level of guarantee only if he hits weight and plays a certain number of games. That, like, for next year, it's 40% guaranteed had he stayed at a certain amount of weight and played at least 41 games, right? It's another 20% guarantee if he plays at least 51 games, right? So that's already a level of contract that we never see in our league, right? So you could say, man, this guy's always hurt and he's always out of shape. We should cut him because we've got all this protection in the contract that basically allows us to walk away scot-free. The problem is he's good and you know it. And you know if it ever comes together, like in terms of just staying healthy, he's going to kill it somewhere else. And then you got to explain to ownership how you let this guy just walk. The John Morant one is different because beyond his off-the-court issues, which seem to be behind him at this stage, he also gets hurt a lot. Not as much as Zion, but he's hardly a vision of health himself. And so both of those guys, and I would throw Joel Embiid in there in the conversation as well, it gets you into real murky waters because you know when they're healthy, they are elite. But the problem is when they're healthy, that part is not a guarantee.
Teams are scattered. The sports world is scattered by players who have this intoxicating level of skill that when they're on the field, it's just so good. It's like poetry, except they get hurt all the time. And at some point, you just realize that's what you have here. You have great skill. Sometimes you say great skill, no head. And you need both a head and skill to succeed at the big league level or at the professional level. Sometimes you have a great head and that overcomes not perfect skill. But the hardest thing, as you pointed out, is admitting to yourself when it's time to move on. And one of the lessons you learn at GM and president school is you're not going to get everyone right. And I'd rather be wrong early than right late.
Really?
And Zion is a case for me where I don't want to throw any more good money after bad. I want to move on from him and reallocate my resources, start again. And if he ends up being healthy and good for 10 more years after this with someone else, that just counts as one of the bad, but I'd like my chances.
David, how much does job security factor into that decision making?
So it's why we like signing our GMs to long-term deals, because we didn't like GMs, no matter what you say, it's a normal reaction that you don't think about 5 years from now if you're not going to be there 5 years from now. And if you're on the last year of your deal, which is what the Yankees do, they never extend people until their contract runs out. And they hope that people are loyal enough to think about the future that may not benefit them. I have found that that is a rare trait for employees or presidents to have. It is totally normal to think about yourself and to act in your self-interest. It's actually expected at certain levels of the corporate ladder. And so having people, that's why you give stock options and stock to people of public companies, because it's in the best interest of everyone for the stock to go up. In sports, it's really hard. So we tried to ameliorate that by doing longer term deals.
And you don't want to get into a moral hazard situation. I wanted to run something by you. I never quite got to any of my solves for tanking because Amin was convinced that tanking isn't even an issue. But from a team president standpoint, I want to throw a couple solutions at you. One of the ideas that was floated that isn't my solution, but I would be on board, is to have, rather than a draft, to have free agency. So anyone who's coming in, you could have, you could put together a contract offer for a player who is a rookie in order to add that player to your team, rather than to have the draft. One of the other solutions is to flatten the lottery odds for everyone who misses the playoffs. And then there was another solution that I thought was interesting, that was to do what the WNBA does and have the record over the course of 2 years determine who is going to be, who's going to have the top pick. Are any of those more or less attractive to you?
Well, a lot of those exist. Go back to Patrick Ewing's lottery, and maybe I'm wrong, but I think everybody had the same odds because it was your logo in an envelope in a jar. I think everyone was equal there. In baseball, under the new CBA, you cannot get the top pick multiple years in a row. But let's talk about what you're saying about tanking and the reason for it. Everyone talks about tanking for a player. And I don't believe that as a front office, we ever did that. In baseball, it's really hard to, because you're 1-1 overall. It's still only a 50% chance of hitting. But I've thought about it in basketball. And when it's a straight line where you have the worst record, you have the top pick, tanking for that absolutely makes sense. But if they've changed it the way they did in the NBA, where you're not guaranteed that, then tanking all of a sudden doesn't increase anything but your number of ping pong balls. And that has proven not to be as important as what we're seeing now with Philly that you were discussing, which is protecting a pick, period. So what I would propose to do is to disallow any trades of first-round picks that are protected. When you make a trade and you're willing to trade your first-round pick, you're throwing caution to the wind. It may be the number 1 pick. It may be the number 30 pick. It doesn't matter. because what protection does is it actually incentivizes a team on the edge to make sure that they no longer are on that edge. And I think that's a big problem.
Might be the first time I've ever agreed with you in anything, David.
See, that's who you got. You got to watch who your bedfellows are.
Good job, David. Good answer.
Yeah, I like this bedfellow. You don't like that as an idea?
No, I don't. I like protections. I like the idea of betting people's futures. I like the idea.
Well, you can still bet the future without the protection. Yeah.
I know, but I like the added complexity of like, how sure are you on this bet? Right? When it turns into protections, we're basically giving shades of gray to what would be a black or white issue.
When I was talking earlier about any type of tweaks, and I've been a part of a couple CBA negotiations, and everything that you put into, every rule that you put into the next CBA always has some knock-on effect that was not what you anticipated.
Called unintended consequences.
Unintended consequences.
And that's always, you always think that you're going to solve this problem. I think the NBA is an example of it in that, like, they put in the max salary because they were like, all right, we need to make sure that more money goes to the lower players.
No, it wasn't because of that. It wasn't about, like, distribution. It was about Kevin Garnett's got how much? All these salaries out of control. And they thought, like, this will get salaries in line. And what ended up happening was it just redistributed the money to create this massive middle class. So in the beginning, it was the owners who wanted max salaries, and the players were like, absolutely not, because the Players Association was led by Patrick Ewing and like David Falk and all the big money guys, right? And now it's flipped where it's like the owner's like, why do we have max salaries? And the players are like, no, we need them. Because
the unintended consequence of the max salary, and Charlie talks about this very often as a Wizards fan, and anyone who's a fan of a team that doesn't have one of those top 15 guys, every team kind of has to give someone the max, and then you give the max to a guy who's not a top tier guy, and then your team, you can't build a competitor. And if you don't give a max to your top tier guy, he leaves. So that's one of the knock-on effects of the guaranteed or the max salary, is it impacts the rosters in that way. So I think whenever we make any of these proposals, you have to be aware of the knock-on effects. So I threw a couple out there that I did not agree with. David, you were opening your mouth to say something.
Yeah, I just want to say that I wish you worked for MLB's union, because you threw one out there that I don't know if you meant, but you were calling for immediate free agency and the elimination of the draft. Amen. We propose that always. Immediate free agency, permanent free agency, every single year, no problem. And the union said, no, thank you.
Because
they did not want that for their players.
That's a whole nother conversation, which, like, I didn't want to get into specifically. Free agency, you still have contracts. It's not a free agent every year. You sign a contract for however long you determine the contract's going to be for. But the solve that I wanted to throw at you for tanking, and you specifically, is the reason why I think a lot of these tanking solves don't work is because we're looking to disincentivize teams from losing. And I think that not only do we have to do that, but we have to incentivize them to win. So my argument would be that, particularly because you're impacting the entertainment quality of the game by putting trash lineups on the floor, that the top 8 teams in every conference that make the playoffs, top 16 teams in the league, get one level of distribution of the TV money. Then all the teams after that who do not make it in, you get a tiered lower level of revenue distribution based on where you rank. Because then you also are incentivized, and I can't foresee any knock-on effects that will be a problem for roster construction going forward, and it holds the team accountable and incentivizes them to put their best product on the floor. If you want to get your top distribution, get in the damn playoffs. If you don't, go ahead and lose.
You won't get one vote for that. You won't
will.
even get the Dodgers to vote for that.
You will.
Because at the end of the day, every league is 500 at the end of every season.
You will.
And so there's going to be teams that miss the playoffs. Even the Yankees from time to time will miss the playoffs, and there's no way they're going to take a smaller cut of their TV revenue. It impacts valuation and cash flow. It impacts budgeting. You wouldn't get one vote out of 30 teams.
You'll get a couple votes. You probably wouldn't get enough to get it passed, but it's the most infuriating thing. I'm going to let you go after this, but one of the most infuriating things about pro sports owners is how much they love capitalism until you try to apply it to them. You all exist in this cartel, a closed ecosystem where no matter how bad your restaurant is, you're still going to turn a profit. No matter how broken your McFlurry machine is, no matter how trash your
Somebody
burgers
hurt
are,
you, Dominique.
You can't. Yeah, I mean,
somebody hurt you badly, and I'm sorry for that.
My guess is an NFL owner.
Hold on, David. Don't you misdirect. Yes, I've been hurt in my life. Doesn't change the fact that you assholes exist in a system where you get to, no matter what you produce, go ahead and cash in. And I wish we were in a situation where the franchise, the freeloading franchises would have to compete in a way that forced them to put the best product on the field, and you don't get to just show up and be trash and get a big
It's
chunk of check.
amazing, Dominique.
Relegate
how many
two
players
bums.
want to be owners.
Relegate them.
It's amazing. how
Relegate
many
them.
players
I don't
want
want to talk to you anymore. You're out of here.
I did not.
So when he gets up,
I was in Bridgeport, Connecticut, and where all the one-legged people hang out, and the guy was talking way too much, and it's the worst kind of heckler to me. I will gladly take a heckler that yells out "F you" more than a guy that loves me but is just talking too loud and commenting on every joke and be like, that's so true when you did that. Like, God damn it.
That's a great joke, Brad Williams.
Yeah,
that's a great joke. You're killing it, Brad.
That's what I'm doing. It's like he's encouraging me, but it's like your mom clapping too loud in the stands. Like, Mom, shut up! I can do this. And so I talked to him. He's like, hey, I paid good money to get in here, and I like, dude, you gotta shut up. And I finally had to kick him out. So he stands up, and he does the walk. And when he walks, the pant leg goes up, and I see the shiny metal underneath, and I'm like, oh no, no. And I kind of. And then, because I can't filter thoughts, I go, you have one leg, sir?
Oh, so you just decided to play with the cards out.
Let's go. And then he turns and goes, yep. And I was like, am I kicking out a soldier? Did you serve? And he goes, nah, car accident. And I'm like, okay, get like, if it's a soldier, then yeah. But I actually kept talking to him. And then, because I felt bad, I invited him back. And he sat down, and we proceeded with the show. But then it just kept going. He got his second chance, to the point where now I see the faces of the people around him being uncomfortable, and I'm like, all right, well, now you. So I kicked him out again. No, I kicked him out again, and he gave me the whole like, well, do you know how much I paid for these tickets? And I go, an arm and a leg. Oh.
It's time for Vegas legend Carrot Top.
The man is a legend, and he's a legend in Vegas, where it's hard to be a legend. I've seen him. His face is ID to get into all the big places. And he's also, though, he's a Florida guy as well, and I think he should be a Panther fan because he grew up in Boca. So I don't know where he is, but I believe he's bigger than Wayne Newton now. He's more Vegas than Wayne Newton, and I'm not joking when I say comedy legend for 40 bleeping years. 40 bleeping years and still doing it 4 times a night. In Vegas, you, Carrot Top, Mr. Top, are rooting for who in this series?
You can't say 40 bleeping years. It just doesn't sound cool. You know, you gotta say 40 years. But it's gonna be really rough. This might be the hardest decision of my life. Being from Boca, I think I performed at the Sunrise Musical Theater when I was young. But my roots, I mean, I'm in Vegas. They're listening to me right now. I'm here in Las Vegas, and it's tough. I got to be honest.
This episode of the Dan Le Batard Show with Stugotz is presented by DraftKings. DraftKings, the crown is yours.
All right, time for some tourney talk. We're bringing in college football expert
college
John.
Football?
Or excuse me, college.
Get your mind out the gridiron.
My bad. It's hard. Well, I mean.
Hardwood.
John Fanta is also a football enthusiast, but we have him here to talk about basketball. He might be interesting to talk to about the proposal that I just made to David Samson because, John, welcome to the show. You're a Browns fan, right, sir?
Come on now. Of course I'm a Cleveland Browns fan, guys. Come on now. I'm waiting on my next quarterback here. I got the number 2 pick in the draft. Now, I don't know what we're going to do. I don't think Cam Ward's not going to be on the table for me, but hope springs eternal.
Do you want – are you one who wants Shador, or would you rather go ahead and get Abdul Carter? Or I guess, or Travis Hunter is a possibility there also.
So you know what, guys? My belief system is always this: if you don't have it right at QB1, what does it really matter? But by the same token, at the number 2 pick, to me, Abdul Carter is such an overwhelmingly talented player that it's hard for me to pass him by.
Right.
When at number 2. There are real questions then about the value of Shador in that slot in the draft.
I'm sorry.
No, if they go and get him, I'm good with it, guys. Right. Because I got to get that position right. And let's face it, I'm not saying that he is this, but a year ago we didn't have Jaden Daniels doing what he's doing.
Yeah.
And you can go right down the line of other cases in the National Football League. So I'm good with either route. I really am.
All right, speaking of overwhelmingly talented, right now we got all 1 seeds, all chalk in the Final Four. And it's not just that they're 1 seeds. I think they're 4 of the top 10 Ken Palm teams ever in these Final Fours. Like, how excited are we? Are you one of these guys who wishes we had 1 Cinderella in here, or are you super excited about the overwhelming amount of talent and great coaching that we have in this year's tournament?
You know what, Dominic? My thing is, like, when I look at this lineup of teams, this is historic because the last time that we had it happen was 2008, and that's the only other time it's occurred.
Right.
That being Memphis, Carolina, UCLA, and Kansas. Think about this. These 4 teams have a higher efficiency rating than 21 of the last 22 national champions. So I want to see the Clash of the Titans. I want to see the best teams play each other. And it's going to be fascinating to see this weekend in San Antonio, where you have Duke, the most efficient offensive team in the country, against Houston, the best defensive team in the country. Where you have Auburn in Florida, and for the better part of the year, Auburn was the number 1 team in the country. They've been the number 1 the most weeks. But they lost the last time they met Florida, the only time they've met Florida this year. And it came at home inside Neville Arena. So there's a bunch of storylines. I truly believe this. We had it so good in the Cinderella column the last couple of years. Mm-hmm. And while college sports is nuts and college basketball is wild, it's basketball, guys. This is not like football in the trenches where the comparable to a Cinderella meets the heavyweight and gets blasted at the line of scrimmage, and it's not a game. I think that Cinderella's carriage just stopped at the BP or the Shell. They're getting the gas tank up, and in 2026, we're going to see that carriage run right back through. I do believe that. But let's not deny that sometimes when Cinderella has made it this deep in the dance, at some point, they even turn back into a pumpkin in the tournament. Yeah. These 4 teams make for quite the weekend in San Ann.
This Toasted Bracket update is sponsored by Jimmy John's. They're finally here, and they're hot. Try the new toasted sandwiches at Jimmy John's. Order one today.
Nobody calls it San Ann.
They do now.
No, hold on.
We just kicked it off.
John,
they call it San Ann right now. Do you do a bracket?
Do I do a bracket?
Yeah.
What kind of question is that?
What do you mean? I didn't know if he did one.
Does Mari read paternity test results?
You're speaking my language. I love Maury.
Do cows get milked? I mean, come on now. Like, I mean,
how did you do this year? I guess that's more a better question. How did your bracket turn out this year?
Well, I had 3 of the final 4. So I wasn't going to go chalk. I thought I did think it was funny that the people who did and everybody ripped them on selections. Look, you can't just go all chalk, but I did think the top of the country was overwhelmingly good. I thought Michigan State could end up making the magic happen, and Izzo in his 30th year could get there. I did okay. I thought UC San Diego was going to make a run in this tournament. And I talked with Dusty May about this. He's the head coach at Michigan, and he's like, when people say that the Cinderella thing is dead, he's like, UC San Diego was a possession away from beating us.
Right.
He's like, it's basketball, man. Like, I've been on the other side of that at Florida Atlantic when we made the improbable run. You just simply never know what can happen in this thing. And that's why, like, think about this, fellas. Shouldn't Texas Tech be in the Final Four? They were up by 9 with 2:51 to go in the game. Up by 9 with 2:51. You're wondering how the hell they lose that.
Yeah. The 4 teams that are here, and I alluded to the coaches earlier, 2 of them are 65 or over. Then the other 2 are 40 and under. With the changing dynamics in college sports, I think if you would have asked me, I would have said, you know what? Only young coaches from here on out because of how this has all changed. Like, what am I to make of the idea that Pearl and Samson are in here with Golden and Shire?
A couple of guys who are willing to adapt and accept the fact that their team's on the clock from 2 to 5 every day, and the other 21 hours of the day they're not, because that's our world now. Like, it just is. It's different time, different place. And I think for a guy like Bruce Pearl, he figured out, you know what? My football program's one of the best things I got going. We're going to make money off that. We're going to have cash. I'm going to do my very best to energize the sport of basketball. we're in this climate right now where some of these basketball coaches, some of these football coaches like to get in some sort of a match where who's better, who's this, who's that. I think Bruce has done a brilliant job of kind of just making it a celebration of Auburn sports. And he has adapted, and he's so open to doing media. He's willing to talk to people. His kids want to play for him. There's an energy around that. As for Kelvin Sampson, guys, I got to tell you, I'm amazed by the building job he has done. And I don't think anybody could have predicted this. The last 5 years, they own 15 NCAA tournament wins. That's 2 more than anybody else. They're staggeringly strong. I mean, they multiple Final Four trips, 2 Final Fours, 4 Sweet 16s, 3 Elite Eights. This is at Houston, and they move into the Big 12. They only take 1 loss the entire Big 12. What do I credit for that? Kelvin, being an older coach, can say things and do things with his players that I don't know if coaches under 40 can do, because I don't think it resonates and I don't think it comes through the way. It's a different generation. But it is interesting in college basketball where a Tom Izzo, a Rick Pitino, a Kelvin Sampson can do and say things that maybe the Todd Golden, right, can't, or John Shire aren't saying in their practices. But also, there are many coaches who have quit because I think they thought that message would get lost in today's times. And really, the older generation, still, certain guys are still able to do it. So it is a fascinating dichotomy. But I do think, fellas, we're in a world where we're going to continue to see the younger coaches step up and thrive because they want to be in this pro model, relate to the kids model.
John, that's really fascinating because, as you mentioned toward the end of your answer there, most older generation guys say, I can't coach them, I can't talk to these kids. I mean, I've talked to coaches and even NBA veteran players and say, man, if you talk to them the way you used to talk to us, like you lose the kid forever. So what is it about Kelvin Sampson, about Coach Izzo, about Coach Pearl, that they're still able to keep that old school style about them?
They recruit the families. They tell the parents, here's what you're in for.
I know you got a hard out. So lightning round coming up real quick. Okay. You ready?
Great question, though. It's a great question. Yeah. I can give you I'll add an extra minute because you two have been fantastic.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I appreciate it. We got an extra minute, guys. Woo!
Don't waste it. Go.
All right, here we go. So who is the team, if you're parachuting into this tournament and you're watching the Final Four, who is the fan favorite? Who should we be rooting for, and why is it Kelvin Sampson?
It's Kelvin Sampson because he's never won a national championship.
Right.
I think when you haven't won a title, we're in this world where, like, you have to back up your success with a ring. And it's like, well, it's 6 one-game tournaments, not 1 6-game. You got to win 6 games in a row. He's preached his culture of toughness. People have given him flack at times for being limited offensively. It'd be an amazing story. I think it's his best chance to get that elusive title.
What am I to make of this new tournament, the Crown? Like, there's a whole nother basketball tournament.
Crown is yours?
Is that something that college basketball appreciates and appreciates and respects already?
Well, I think that it's an interesting tournament because it's coming during a week when a lot of people are still starving for basketball, and they're also starving to get in on the action, if you will, watch these games and check out exactly. So I think in that respect, it's got some upside there. You get a game like Villanova USC is a quarterfinal game in this tournament. Just going to be real with you guys. That's better than any game that we've had in the NIT from the brand perspective. So I think for them, between the games, between some of the star players, they're giving out NIL money. I think that NIL is only going to rise up, which is everything in college hoops. I think it's going to have staying power, and it's in Vegas.
The broader than the tournament, we know about the NIL and the revenue sharing plan coming forward. The most recent articles that I've read suggest that the Big East is going to become a basketball power because of the disproportionate amount of money that they'll be able to spend on their basketball programs because they don't have to support football programs. Is that something we should expect? So should next year's Final Four and the Final Four after that be all Big East teams, or is there something else coming down the pike?
Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy talking. To me, it's SEC, ACC, and Big Ten coaches expressing and Big 12 coaches expressing this heavy concern because Big East programs are going to be able to dedicate more money from rev sharing. Okay, I'm sorry. When's SEC coaches have never made under the table deals?
Yeah.
Never paid cash. Come on now.
Let's get under the table.
The Big East is set for success, but it's all the Big East has always had a spot on the table.
Right.
Like it's but whether they have 3-4 final, that's not going to happen to that degree. The conference is in a good place because it values basketball, and in college basketball, it's going to continue. They got big personalities, big time coaches with Pitino, with Hurley, and so on. That's what keeps the league going on top of its prioritizing of hoops. The SEC, the Big Ten, these other leagues, the concept, the idea, the thing put in the press that they're not going to have dollars. Get the hell out of here.
Let's go. Way to go, John Fanta. Awesome appearance. Thank you so much, man. John Fanta did it. He's the man. Our first successful interview thanks to a great John Fanta.
Enemy.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for not injecting me.
Started with a bark, ended with a bark.
That's a great man.
He should have been here. Hawk should have been here.
Why?
Well, because the Browns team.
John would
have loved
a
that.
Browns guy. Yeah, absolutely. I want to commend you all. No one referenced soda in that entire interview. Thank you so much. Good job, guys.
We were just doing it before. He's got to be a Fanta drinker, right?
But, I mean,
you got to like
Fanta,
Fanta if your name's Fanta.
Right, but isn't it also like, don't you think that he gets that?
The hackiest question we could ask,
it's like,
probably.
So that's why I'm proud of you guys.
That's
Good
what
job.
we would have done if Dan were here. Just to, like, start out on an awkward note.
Do you want to do damn impressions of how he would have asked that question?
Dan.
Charlie's like,
I can't do it on command.
Nah. Dan, new respect for Dan. We all love and appreciate Dan. We are here. No?
Brent Williams.
There we go. Billy, we got an update on the search for Jason Mason.
Yeah, Jason Mason has been contacted.
Ooh.
Yeah, so we're waiting more
hold
info
on.
Jason
Time out.
Mason.
You guys looked at a picture of Taylor that's like 5 or 6 years, how many years old, saw someone in the background and said, get me. He's not even in focus. His whole face isn't even in the picture. How do you guys know who he is?
No, well, we were making fun. Well, Dominique was making fun of.
I was not making fun of Jason Mason. I was making fun of Taylor.
I mean, you used Jason Mason as a means to make fun of Taylor.
I mean, I was a little confused why he needed to have glasses on while he was running.
That's a good point, man.
Just like, I would assume that you want to drop all the weight that you can. And, like, I know that maybe you can't read small things, but you can see.
You know why? Because he's not a nerd like y'all. He's looking in the stands like, okay, that one over there. All right, okay. Second row, I see you over here. Go ahead, buddy.
Jason Mason.
Why does he have his first name on it? I appear courtesy of myself, Jason.
You're doing all the jokes we did yesterday. It's good humor.
I think it's just,
he plays for George Mason.
He looks like George. Where's the George?
Play track.
Well,
That's
no,
a good question.
It just says Mason. Yeah.
It's
and then the way
like
that
a
it's
J.
moved.
Oh, gotcha. Also, he looks exhausted. Taylor looks like he's just out here warming up.
Well,
Jason looks exhausted. Is his name Jason, by the way? I keep calling
his name's Jason Mason.
Yeah.
His name's not Jason Mason. You said you contacted him. What's his name, Billy? Do you know his actual
He
name?
has been contacted. Hold on a second. I'll get it for you right now.
Anthony Williams.
There you go.
Oh,
For real?
Anthony Williams.
You just making that name up.
No, that's his name.
Tony Will.
Tony.
What
buddy, you got to hear what a buddy. Tony Will, buddy.
What would his hockey name be? Willsy?
So we've contacted him. I'm not sure if he's joining us, but maybe next hour.
Negotiations, yeah, we're ongoing,
Willsy
trying
or
to
won't
figure
he?
it out. We're also getting to the bottom of that race also, so that photo might tell a different story than the results of that race. Yeah.
Hell of a tease.
Wait a second.
It does. Taylor lost the race. And confirmed in that race, Taylor was on the North Carolina C team.
What?
Yeah.
Taylor.
But in Taylor's defense, North Carolina's C team did have a better time in the race than the North Carolina B team.
Where was the A team?
However, they did lose.
Where was
anyways.
the A team? What all that? So
The A team wasn't even on the sheet. They were so far ahead.
Was Taylor scholarship? I know he walked on for football. Did he walk on for track as well?
Yes. And he also walked off the team the next year because he didn't like the coach.
Jesus.
who we found out was my coach when I did track
Really?
at FIU. Oh yeah.
No,
small
no,
world.
you guys are
Yeah.
you're messing with me.
It's a
No,
whole
we
thing.
found that out on Mystery Crate.
Did
Yeah.
you like him?
Yeah, I like him. He's fine. Yeah.
You're a good athlete, so coaches tend to like good athletes. That tends to be the case.
I liked him. I didn't say he liked me.
Right. I think that's normally what happens is with coaches, you're a good athlete, they treat you well. You like them, they like you. That's always been my experience. I never really had a coach I didn't like. Met a lot of guys who work at Foot Locker who said that their coaches were assholes. Happens all the time.
Man, if it wasn't for that coach hating on me, man.
Yeah, bruh. You know who coaches don't hate? The dudes who make their job a lot easier.
I didn't do that because I had a situation in track where I sprained one ankle like really bad, and then I was in the training room like basically all the time, and I was like would just go in, do the treatment, be in the training room forever, and I thought that's all I had to do because I couldn't walk, couldn't do anything. And then he was mad at me. He's like, "Well, you still should have been coming to practice." I'm like, "What am I gonna do? Like, I can't pole vault with a sprained ankle and like a brace on." Like, so then I came back. Swear to God, came back. First day back. Go up, come down, sprain the opposite ankle. Nice. First day back in practice. So I'm telling you, I don't think he liked me at all. Because the first sprained ankle, pick up basketball.
Oh.
Yeah. And he told me, he's like, if you were not a walk-on, you would not be on this team right now. Like, I would have cut. If you're a scholarship guy and you were playing basketball and sprained your ankle, you would have been gone. I was like, okay, coach.
Really?
Come on,
It's
it's
the
FIU.
opposite.
Let's be real.
The funny thing is, like, we did it all the time. Like, we played basketball in college all the time. The coaches didn't mind. They didn't hate it. They appreciated it.
I hated it.
Yeah.
Playing against the football players.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, it's weird.
We would play a version of basketball. It was physical.
No fouls.
Oh.
No jump shots.
Oh, yeah.
Why do you think slam ball never caught on?
A lot of dunks, though.
Like, slam ball was like everyone's dream as a child, like trampoline basketball.
Weren't there like some serious injuries in slam ball?
It ruled. It was like jacked up.
I feel like that might have been
Really?
part
Like,
of it.
seriously?
Aren't those trampoline parks like people are just tearing ligaments left and right?
Yeah.
Knock on wood, I've taken my daughter to those trampoline parks, never seen an ambulance. And there's always hundreds
Never
of kids.
seen an ambulance.
I would think
They just put them straight in the hearse.
I would think once a day someone's tearing something and there's an ambulance coming.
No, they have it happen so often that they got a well-oiled machine. They get them out.
Like
they get them to the back room. They bring out the blue tent before you can see it. They just tent the kid.
Are you calling an ambulance if you just
Maybe not.
sprain your meniscus? Like
That's
you're probably
true.
going home and you're like, that doesn't feel good, and then you're going to the doctor in a
For
few
that
days.
lawsuit, though, I'm trying to sue.
I feel like, Chris, you're the type to get on there.
I need an ambulance. I can't move.
No, not you need an ambulance, but you're the type, because I've been to those. My kids are probably just leaving that range. My youngest kid just leaving the range where I have to go to those type of parks. Never once step foot on there.
Same. I don't
Okay,
actually
good.
jump. I just watch.
That's a place where you're signing waivers, though, right, Chris?
yes.
Like you
Oh,
can't.
yeah,
You're
but
not suing.
There's
them.
a whole line for the waiver part before you get to the pay part. It's like,
You
sign
can-
this waiver and then you can go pay.
You can do it ahead of time. And if you do it ahead of time, when you get there, they make you physically sign it also. So, like, you can go through an electronic waiver process. And I was like, yeah, we're going to breeze right through it. Then I get there, and they're like, you did an electronic waiver. We see. Now fill it out with ink.
Oh, they make you do it twice?
Oh, hell yeah. They ain't playing. You're not going to get no suing in there.
That place is, I'm going to tell you right now, that's not fun. Like, the trampoline park,
Kids love it, obviously.
Kids love it because they don't.
It's not fun. What kid? Like,
They have
not to be a
6
dick, but what
ACLs.
kids thing is fun for adults.
Yeah.
Oh, come on now. Chuck E. Cheese?
American Ninja Warrior?
Is that for kids?
I do like doing Papa Shot at Chuck E. Cheese. If there's, I do like an arcade because I can do. Let me get the card for a second.
Yeah, dude, man, like
they do. So the gymnastics, Dominique Dawes has gymnastics gyms in the Maryland area, and their gymnastics half ninja course. So like the kids, my youngest daughter loves ninja courses.
Yeah.
Kids do love ninja courses.
Is it swiveling with like cold water underneath?
I don't think they have swiveling cold water things.
Okay.
They do have basketball hoops though. Get
Okay.
that corner 3 off.
You know, they don't shoot too much at the trampoline parks. You know that, right? There's a trampoline there for a reason.
At the trampoline park I take my daughter to, they have like an American Gladiator thing where you walk out on like the thing and you have like you're battling with someone, some aggressive That's always where I'm at, just watching those things.
Watching those kids.
The parents are getting mad at other parents' kids. Like, he's hitting. You're supposed to push.
I got you over there with
taking bets.
Yep, you got it. You're like, hey, who's got on red shirt?
600. I'm putting odds on every matchup for sure.
Red shirt's been on a 3-game run. Who's next gonna take? Blue shirt gonna take on red shirt. What you got on that? You're just a numbers runner.
It's like just chicken fighting, basically. You're just sitting there with take a bunch of slips of paper.
Can I say something about our last interview that I've been thinking about for 10 minutes now?
He's a red Fanta guy.
I don't like when adult sports fans bark.
What? What's the setting that it's appropriate?
What? I just.
Oh, if you're talking to Willow, it's okay. But like,
I don't
as a
bark
friend, okay.
at her.
Yes, you do. I've seen
What
it.
age is barking no longer?
You have me sitting there with my dog like woof 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 woof.
And Willow goes like this. Oh, you've been talking all day. I'm like, what's she talking about?
Is there like an age where barking is no longer like appropriate?
I mean, if kids do it, I'm not going to be like, oh, like.
Yes, you
well,
are.
I don't like
Yes,
kids,
you
so
are.
maybe I would. And in reality, though, maybe 18. Maybe we'll just say the cutoff is college age. I don't know. It's like Georgia games, Browns games. Like those are the places where you get barked at the most.
And they got to throw the fist pump too with it.
Arsenio Hall. That's Arsenio.
And they do it because they know it's annoying. This isn't like a surprise to anyone.
I hate sometimes when that happens, man.
Yeah.
You're waiting for that window, like, just give me a second. Just give me a second. Then someone
I'm going to jump in and say what it means.
Arsenio Hall, like, shit, man.
I didn't realize
The whole setup, man.
My bad. My apologies. Let's pretend like I didn't say
No,
Arsenio
no.
Hall.
Hey, I'll do it again.
Okay,
You need to do my part. Or you just
I'll
wanna
start
go?
again. What's the age, like the cutoff for like barking?
I think if kids do
Arsenio Hall.
Nailed it. Charlie and I have been work friends for a long time, and I think in the last year or so, we've probably become like real friends.
Oh, wow.
And,
Last year?
Wow.
Damn.
Yeah.
Charlie.
No, I'm gonna
trying, Amin.
I'm gonna explain it to you. No, I think that the friend progression. So there is a level of friend that when you know all the embarrassing stuff, that's what I'm talking about. Like I think that a lot of people you consider your friend, but you're not really friends until you start to meet their friends and you start to find out things. So when Jessica was talking about fans barking, all I could think about was Charlie's friend who, and this is not a friend from last night, this is a different friend.
Yeah.
This is a different friend who who on third downs, he's a Commanders fan, and on every third down,
squeals.
He gets in a 3-point stance and says, let's heat him up.
Yep. 3-point stance guy at a bar. Losing to the Eagles by 50.
At a bar?
What's he say?
Heat him up. You got to blitz. Send a blitz. That just means like get some pressure. Heat him up. We got to heat him
Getting
up.
into a stance at a bar?
Hand in the dirt.
Stop it.
So
it rules.
Jessica, this is why I said it's only been the last year or so that I feel like Charlie and I are at a level of friendship where I really know Charlie, because I would never introduce anyone to my 3-point. I have friends who do very embarrassing things. 3-point stance at a bar every third down, yells, let's heat them up.
So this is how I'm going to figure out what this level of equality in this friendship is. Charlie, have you met any of his friends?
I am his friend.
There it is. I mean, you met Kevin. Kevin came to the show a couple times.
And DeQuell.
Yeah, you met DeQuell a bunch of times. So yeah. He hasn't met any of my embarrassing friends.
That's what I was asking for. I wasn't asking for the regular friends.
Yeah, I'm trying to think who would embarrass me.
Go ahead.
I'm not embarrassed by my 3-point stance.
Yeah, he's
That's
not
awesome.
embarrassed.
He should be.
This is why there's a male loneliness epidemic.
This is why that's only
Take
been
all
a
the friends
year.
I can
They're
get.
doing 3-point stances at the bar.
Let's heat them up. It's third down. We got to get a stop.
It was real tough in that NFC Championship game against the Eagles. He continued to get into the 3-point stance. 1 sack fumble away.
His hand is on the floor.
That's
of
what
the
I'm
dirty
imagining.
bar.
Is it on the bar? Is it on the
No,
his bar
3-point
stool?
stance
The
is
floor.
The floor. He's doing it on the
Sometimes-
floor. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like sticky.
So when it was tush push time, did he get in a 4-point stance? Because you got to get 4-point stance for tush push.
3-point only. He's an edge guy.
He's an edge guy. He's a pass rusher. Only on third down passing situations.
If I'm you, I'm calling offsides every single time.
That's actually a great idea. I wonder how he would have reacted to that. Not well.
But you can't announce it. You got to just show up with a flag. Throw the flag right in front of him right there. And then turn to an imaginary camera and be like,
Free play.
offsides. Oh, okay.
His wife was very
Free
pregnant.
play, free play.
His pregnant wife was there while this was going on?
She was delighted that he was at the bar in a 3-point stance with me instead of at home with her.
Because
Wait, did you do that at home?
Hold on. I'm sorry. I think I failed to explain this. Every single Commanders game.
Unclear. I can't confirm or deny that.
You guys
I've
have,
only
of
seen
course
the
he
3
does it
points.
at home.
Yeah, exactly.
If he's doing it at a bar.
You think that the man who does a 3-point stance and yells, "Let's heat him up" at a bar is at home
Honey, it's
sitting
third
with his
down.
leg. I sure hope our boys are victorious on this very important, pivotal third down. No, let's heat them up.
There's a certain part of that that's for attention, right? That you would do at a bar. That like at home, why would you do that?
He's a showman.
Also, I thought it was something repressed, right? Like at home, it's like, don't you dare do that shit in here.
Yeah.
Yes,
I was
ma'am.
actually interpreting this differently. I thought this was like a good luck thing. Like he's like, this is what I have to do now.
That's how. No, I
on
took
third
it
down.
all along as this man's a lunatic.
No, I think he believes the team needs him. It's one of those. It's kind of a superstition, but it's like
Exactly,
I
yes.
gotta get down this 3-point stance.
I
or
actually
we're
just
not
think
going.
I just think he loves ball. I'm not even kidding. I don't think there's anything deep.
I
into
do
that.
a less extreme version. Like I'll stand up on a big third down on my couch where you're just like, I'm excited. Like, all right, come on, we need this. We need this right here.
No.
Standing's weird.
But I'm not like getting in a
Just
football
kidding.
stance.
The antsy hands is a little weird,
The
but
antsy hands. Show me the antsy hands.
That's just you just get up. You're like, all right,
Chris,
come on, let's go, guys.
Chris, getting up and standing up is not the same as getting
at
into
all.
a
No,
I know,
3-point.
that's what I'm saying. I
what did
do
your friend
a
do?
version
He's
of
like a
it,
pediatrician or something.
Yeah.
Private equity.
Oh no.
People's money, billions of dollars.
Heat them up. Let's heat them up. I went to a game last season. I got invited to the game, and the third down thing made me think about it. And was invited to this game in a box, and a guy warned us before the game started. Before the game started, he was like, he told the whole room, "I just want you guys to know, I'm a third down noisemaker." It's a classification that I never heard of, and I didn't know you needed.
Now that I feel like, in light of 3-point stance guy, that has a wide lane to be, because third down noise guy might be, oh, it's third down, and on the jumbotron they say make noise, and we go, oh, that might be third down noise now, or you might get into a 3-point stance.
I didn't think it was a justification or a clarification that you had to make until third downs hit.
And then what happened?
And then he went nuts. And it was like a box where all the people were invited. And, you know, there are certain boxes that are a little bit quieter.
Yeah.
It's like no one in here is like a super fan. These are people like
Titans of industry.
A company owned the box, and they brought people just as like a reward. So in this box, everyone's just like, oh, okay, cool. This is nice. This is nice. And he is going ape.
Give me. Give me. I need it.
Just, let's go.
Let's go make some noise. Let's go.
Like going.
I've been that guy before.
Are you the guy that implores the people
in
around
the stands
you?
on third down? You stand up.
Come
and
on,
you're just like,
guys.
let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. It's big right here. Big one right here. You just want to kind of inspire other people around you.
You don't think the 3-point stance is inspiring?
No, it is. Like at a bar, it's just a lot. Like the hand down on the gross bar floor. He's trying.
Charlie, does he do it at games? Has he ever been to a game?
I can't confirm. He's a season ticket guy.
So he does it at games?
I don't know. I don't know if the space is there.
I feel like that's a question that can be answered pretty quickly.
Can you sort of do it for us? Because how is he sort of down but still can see the high up TVs at the bar? Like, how is he able to focus?
His hips are open.
Good athlete.
So that's
how's his butt?
Oh, strong.
Great glutes. Great glutes.
Okay.
I don't think that you can get in the 3-point stance at the bar. I just couldn't do it. I appreciate those guys who bring that energy.
I don't.
It makes it more fun. You don't?
Man.
Why not?
I don't need that, man.
You don't?
I'm the. You know what? I'm the guy. First of all, in the bar for sure, because 9 times out of 10, I don't know that this is the Packers bar or whatever. So I'm just coming in like, hey man, let me get a. And then some guys in the 3-point stance. Oh Jesus Christ, man, come on, relax. You know what I am? I'm the asshole that says they can't hear you. You know. That guy's a dick. That guy's a dick. But that's who I am. And it's not because I think they can't hear. It's because I know it's going to piss them off.
Okay, so 2-point stance, 2 feet on the ground. 3-point stance, 1 hand on the ground. 4-point, 2 hands, 2 feet. What is the number that goes when you're just on your back in the bar?
Touchdown.
No one knows. Just wondering. Just imagining that I'm at a bar. Some people 2-point stance, some people 3-point stance, and there's a couple guys who drink enough that just pass out.
The 3-point stance does stand out more because if I was doing like middle linebacker stance, it's just kind of like, like squatting with your hands on your
DB
knees.
stance is just
You're kind of like,
What number is the stance where you have 2 feet in your face on the ground?
Is that the Foxworth stance?
It's definitely not the Foxworth stance.
What's that? There's a picture. I can't remember who it was. They're running off for it was a TO, and you're just kind of on the ground.
Michael Turner.
That was Michael Turner.
Oh, Michael Turner. Yeah, Turner the Burner. Charlie was the producer of Highly Questionable who used to pull up that picture all the time to try to embarrass me because I missed the tackle. Well, I missed one tackle my whole career. It's okay.
Well, they caught it on film, though.
You don't sound mad at all.
Is that how that works?
I'm not mad. I love it. I love you guys. I love 3-point stance guy.
I don't. Come on, man. What are we doing? This is why he does it, because he's got friends like Charlie. Like, yeah, man, that's cool.
I think it's pretty cool.
Come on, man.
I would never be that guy.
We just made 10 minutes of
I guarantee
content
you
out of
he
it.
hates tanking Amin.
I think I like him more than guy who barks. But
No, I'll take Barker any day.
I think they're the same guy.
really?
Any day.
All right,
think they're the
Willow's
same
coming
guy.
tomorrow.
Well, okay. Any guy.
Definitely the same guy.
Yeah, they're the same guy. I think they're the same guy. Just Charlie's friend happens to be a fan of a team.
Do you think if
that doesn't
Dan was
bark.
here for the John Fanta interview after you asked about the bracket, he would have been like, John Fanta, a fan too?